Welcome to today's Explainer. We're journeying deep into the absolutely gorgeous, vibrant jungles of Uttarakhand, India, to uncover the story of a breathtakingly unique and honestly deeply mysterious shrine. We're talking about the Garjiya Devi Temple. It's this incredible place where pristine nature, ancient history, and deep-rooted faith literally collide. Picture this. You're walking through the dense forests on the outskirts of the famous Jim Corbett National Park. Suddenly, the trees clear, and right there, right in the middle of the rushing, turbulent waters of the Kosi River, you see an entire temple precariously sitting on a single, isolated rock. It immediately begs the question, how in the world did it get there? To really wrap our heads around this, we gotta talk scale, because this isn't just a boulder. We are looking at a massive monolithic rock jutting a staggering 60 feet straight up into the air from the riverbed. It forms this towering natural pedestal right in the dead center of the river's powerful currents. Okay, let's dive into this, starting with the name itself. Who exactly is Garjiya? Well, in Hindu tradition, Garjiya Devi is an incarnation of the goddess Parvati. Specifically, she's her calm and peaceful avatar, known as the daughter of the king of the Himalayas. But here's the fascinating part. Linguistically, in the local Kumoni language, the term carries this heavy connotation of a powerful, mountainous presence. It's also closely associated with the word Garjana, which literally translates to a lion's roar. The locals will tell you that the roaring of the Kosi River, combined with the actual roars of wild tigers and lions in the surrounding jungle, gives this temple its fierce, protective name. But that brings us right back to our initial question, the rock itself. How did a 60-foot monolith end up in the river? Well, according to deeply held local mythology, it wasn't always there. The legend states that during a catastrophic, violent flood in the Kosi River, this massive piece of mountain was ripped right from the earth. It was carried down by the raging waters, tumbling wildly through the jungle. Now, what's really interesting about this is the legendary command that followed. The lore tells us that Bhairav Dev, a devoted follower of Lord Shiva, actually saw this massive rock hurtling down the flooded river. Recognizing that the goddess Garjiya, whom he considered his sister, resided within the rock, he called out, "Sister, stop here." He pleaded with her to marry the Kosi River and calm its anger, and the legend says the rock instantly stopped right where it stands today. And supposedly, the river never severely flooded that specific area again. Now, stepping out of the myth and into the history books, this site is grounded in some very real, very rich history. It actually traces its roots all the way back to the 9th century Katiriyar dynasty. We know this because an incredibly old black granite statue of Lakshmi Narayan was found there during excavations. Fast forward a bit to 1840, and the site was officially discovered by the local rulers of Ramnagar. By 1940, the first modern iteration of the temple was built right on top of the rock. But as word spread and the crowds grew, they actually had to completely reconstruct the temple in 1970 just to safely accommodate the hundreds of thousands of pilgrims who visit it today. Which brings us to the experiential part of our explainer. All this history and mythology is fascinating for sure, but what does a modern-day pilgrim actually experience when they show up at the edge of the Kosi River? Like, what physical toll does it actually take to reach the goddess? Let's move to and see how this builds, because the journey to the top is a very specific, intensely physical 4-step ritual. First, devotees traditionally bathe in the freezing, fast-moving waters of the Kosi River right at the base of the rock to cleanse themselves. Next comes the physical ascent up the rock face. Step 3 is the primary worship in the main sanctum honoring Garjiya Devi. And finally, the ritual isn't considered truly complete until step 4, which involves making traditional offerings at the shrine of Bhairav Baba, the one who supposedly stopped the rock in the first place. And let me tell you, let's focus on that second step for a second. To physically reach the main sanctum, you aren't just taking a leisurely stroll. You have to climb exactly 90 incredibly steep, narrow steps that are carved into and built onto the side of this 60-foot rock. It is literally a vertical pilgrimage. It demands real physical effort and focus, ascending high above the jungle canopy and the rushing water below. And regarding that crucial 4th step we just mentioned, the offerings to Bhairav Baba, the sources are very specific about what devotees need to bring. It's a strict tradition to offer rice, or a dal, which is a type of black lentil, and black leaves. Devotees truly believe that without presenting these highly specific, earthy items to Bhairav Baba, their prayers up on that 60-foot rock will remain incomplete. Okay, so the temple is absolutely gorgeous year-round, But there is one time of year when it transforms completely into what is locally known as the Festival of Lights of the Gods. I mean, just imagine it, that dark, dense surrounding jungle at night, suddenly illuminated by thousands upon thousands of small clay oil lamps, diyas, reflecting beautifully off the rushing waters of the Kosi River down below. This spectacular visual event takes place during Kartik Purnima. That's a highly auspicious Hindu festival celebrated on the 15th lunar day, the full moon, which usually falls in either November or December. During this festival, the typically serene rock turns into a bustling, vibrant hub of devotion. It draws massive crowds of devotees from all over the country who come to bathe in the river under the full moon and light their lamps. And this brilliantly illustrates something truly special about this region. This massive Hindu festival of Kartik Purnima directly coincides with Guru Nanak Jayanti, which is one of the most sacred festivals in Sikhism. The timing creates this beautiful, seamless cultural convergence in the area. It draws huge crowds of people from different faiths to the Ramnagar region all at the exact same time, filling the air with this incredible, unified sense of celebration and reverence. So, having seen the history, the incredible rituals, and the festivals, let's bring this back to reality for a second. If you are captivated by the idea of standing on that 60-foot rock in the middle of a rushing river, and who wouldn't be, how can you practically plan this jungle pilgrimage for yourself? Getting the logistics right is key, but fortunately, the temple is surprisingly accessible despite being out in the jungle. If you're flying in, Pantnagar Airport is your closest hub, sitting about 80 to 92 kilometers away. The train is highly convenient too, with Ramnagar station just 14 to 15 kilometers from the temple, and it boasts strong connectivity to major cities like Delhi and Lucknow. Or, if you're a fan of a road trip, Highway NH 309 gives you direct access right to the temple gates via Ramnagar. Now listen up, because this is probably the most crucial piece of advice. Timing is everything. The absolute best time to visit is between October and May. The weather is pleasant, and more importantly, the water levels are safe. You absolutely must avoid the monsoon season, which runs from July to September. During those months, the Kosi River swells violently, kind of recreating the dangerous floods from the temple's mythology, and access to the 60-foot rock is heavily restricted or just completely cut off. And hey, if you do make the trip, the Garjiya Devi Temple is the perfect gateway to the wider Kumaon region. You are quite literally on the outskirts of Jim Corbett National Park, famous for its Royal Bengal tigers. You can visit the Corbett Museum, which was Jim Corbett's actual former residence. If you want a little peace and quiet, the Sitabani Forest Reserve offers incredible bird watching. Plus, there's the stunning 65-foot Corbett Falls and the architectural masterpiece of Hanuman Dham. You can so easily build an incredible multi-day itinerary around your temple visit. To wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a rather profound thought, inspired by a literary interpretation of this very site. Imagine you're standing on that rock. The Kosi River is just churning around you, a constant reminder of life's turbulence, kind of like the Buddhist concept of the Dharma chakra, the ever-spinning wheel of existence. The water never stays, yet it never leaves. The real magic of the Garjiya Devi Temple is that it sits totally immovable in the center of that rushing chaos. It really begs the question, in the rapidly flowing, sometimes turbulent river of your own life, how do you find your 60-foot rock? How do you find that stillness at the center? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Until next time, keep learning and keep exploring.